We don't want to get trapped in the past, and we don't want to be speculating so much on the future that it paralyzes the present. We want to show up present, purposeful, and purpose-filled in everything that we are doing.
If you're not conscious about your investment strategy, you won't end up where you want to be, not financially or as a human. On this show, we interview highly successful investors and share how they overcame limitations to become unstoppable forces of success. If you're ready to learn what it is to be a conscious investor so you can end up where you want, keep listening.
Conscious investor, we hear the expression, oh, they were in the, wrong place at the wrong time, or they were in the right place at the right time. But have you ever considered that you might be at the right place, but the timing might be off? Super Red Steve and I recently got to have a couple of nights getaway. Like the kids were both traveling, doing really cool adventures, which was awesome for them and great for mom and dad. And we went down and stayed at the Hotel Luso. It's a Davenport hotel in Spokane, Washington. I love the Davenport hotels. They're absolutely exquisite, fantastic, luxurious, beautiful, and we like history. And that's what really got me thinking about this whole concept of the right place at the wrong time. You see, it doesn't have to be right time, right place, or wrong place, wrong time. There can be a mixture of this. And you probably feel this at different points in your life. If you look back, you're probably like, oh my gosh, man, I was in the right place, but that just was not the right timing for me as a person to be able to see and take action on the opportunity ahead of me. That could happen in so many different ways. In fact, I am going to digress for a moment, but think about this. Super Red Steve and I met in middle school. We didn't date or get married until we were in our late 20s, right? And so there's that. We met. We were at the right place to meet. It was the wrong time for us to get together. You might have had a similar sentiment in different relationships or in your career. Some of you are even saying like, maybe you're feeling age-wise. I'm too old for this to take place, or I'm too young for this to take place. It can go on both spectrums. But going back to staying at the Hotel Luso, it's just so beautiful. It's right across the street from the historic Davenport Hotel. Steve and I absolutely love this era of history. It was built in the early 1900s, Art Nouveau era. It's so beautiful. And as Steve and I were walking around the hotel, we were able to see rooms that we hadn't seen before. And these are more like, conference rooms, but not really conference rooms, more like ballrooms, gathering places. And they were just absolutely ornate and exquisite. The craftsmanship, the artwork, the everything about it, just to the nines. But throughout the hotel, on the second floor, they have all of these photographs from all of these events that took place over the years at the hotel. And as Steve and I were looking at these people and we're looking at, just the beautiful dresses the women wore and, how the men dressed and what the parties looked like, or the follies, like it was just, we both looked at each other and said, we were born in the wrong point of time. Like we're born in the wrong time. That's where we belonged. We belonged way back in the 1900s, Obviously, that's a couple generations ago. It would have been peers with my grandparents. Would not have worked out. I wouldn't be here. But you get the drift of what I'm saying is that sometimes we can look back and say like, wow, I'm grateful for where I'm at here today. But man, what about this? And we can spend our time deliberating on that. And then we have to get into a deep level of acceptance. We are here at a certain time in history. We are in the best, most right, perfect place for our life to be lived out in a powerful, purpose-filled, purposeful contribution in history. A lot of times we could say, But it would have been so cool to live in a castle. By the way, Steve cured me on that. That's what happens when you marry a historian. He's like, really, you want to have all the farm animals and everything with you and rats keeping you warm? I'm like, no, thanks. I do like indoor plumbing that with flushing toilets as well. So all this to say is that we can glamorize and romanticize other points in history, other points in our life. Have you ever done this, conscious investor, where maybe you had a really a period of time where you were so fit and so healthy and you just felt invincible. You had your six-pack abs and you could just run for miles or do whatever it is you loved and it felt easy. And then it's like, oh, how can I go back to that? Or maybe you had a pinnacle of success within your career and people, were just looking at you as like, oh, you are the leader of all leaders. And now they're looking to other people's leaders. There's this interesting thing. When we reach these pinnacles of success, sometimes we can get lost in them and actually trapped by them. Instead of allowing them to pave the path unfolding before us, we're trying to reenact and relive the past. We're trying to stay in a certain time of our life, a certain period of history. Like there are some people that are still trying to write paper checks at my local grocery store. I mean, they're not trying, they're doing it. But right, think about that. Sometimes we're trying desperately to hang on to and to preserve an era and period of our time, or even part of history, when we really need to simply accept where we are right now. Case in point, AI. There's a lot of resistance and a lot of arguments about AI. Guess what? Whether we love it or hate it, it's here. Whether we think it's Skynet or we think it's the new revolution that's going to be fantastic, whatever our belief is about it isn't going to change the reality that something like AI is here, or electric cars, right? When we look at technological advances, we have to have a deeper understanding to say, I can't change this trajectory. I need to understand how this works, right? So we adapt to what is taking place on the timeline of history and on the timeline of our lives. We don't want to get trapped in the past, and we don't want to be speculating so much on the future that it paralyzes the present. We want to show up present, purposeful, and purpose-filled in everything that we are doing. So you are at the right place because this is where you are on the timeline of your life. Whatever age you are, this is the age that you are supposed to be to do what you are empowered and created to do in the world at this exact moment in history. Everybody's trying to look for all the win-wins in the investing space. A lot of people are trying to time the market and they're trying to, buy low and sell, enter at the right point and exit at the right point. Yeah, conscious investor, you know how I feel about this. But sometimes we're trying to do that with our life also. And we're trying to create the right time and the right place and all of these things instead of just receiving. The stars don't need to align. The stars are aligned. They already are. But we simply need to receive that. Now, sometimes you might feel like, but I'm going through this challenge right now, Julie. You have no idea. It's so hard. Conscious investor, it's part of the process. The process isn't just the mountaintop. The process is the descent down from the mountaintop. You've heard me talk about this on past episodes where when I used to rock climb, we would say, hey, you're in Yosemite Valley, you're rock climbing, you're not safe until you are back at your car. And actually, probably that's arguably more dangerous, but more fatal than rock climbing itself. But I'm just saying, we have to think we can have our ascent to the pinnacle and to one of the peaks of our life. We're going to descend well. There's a podcast episode on that as well. And then we have those valleys. And those valleys should not be avoided. Those valleys should not be looked at with disdain. Those valleys are there to serve us. That's where we, restore, replenish, and renew. That's our moment where growth takes place, where we could say, okay, we were just up on the mountaintop. We could see for miles unobstructed views, and we could see what our life is capable of. But now we got to go do some inner deep work, or maybe we need to build up some new skills, hard or soft skills. Either way, it's going to take time. And that rebuilding, recalibrating period of time in our personal timelines is critical for our success. It's critical for the next ascent up to our next peak, because that's what life is. It's a series of ups, like ascend, descend, go through that valley. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, the valley of despair. Why? Why is it a valley of despair? It is there. It is such a powerful opportunity. Again, renew, replenish, restore, gain everything that you need during those times. Conscious investor, you are a miracle. You are born at the right place. You are in the right time. And there is no wrong. You are exactly where you need to be. So I want to encourage you to make sure that you are living into that purpose and into that contribution that you were uniquely designed and created for every single day. Tap into that. You will find fulfillment, joy, and satisfaction, even through the valley of despair. The Conscious Investor, I appreciate you. If this served you, please share it with somebody else. I would love to see the Conscious Investor just across the globe, supporting people, encouraging people, and empowering people to take their next bold, courageous step, because that's what we were designed for. Until next time, live big, love bigger, and do great things. What's the big deal about investing in apartments? Why is it better than investing in a slew of single-family homes? I've compiled a lot of information on why investing in a multifamily, also known as apartments, will help you reach your investment goals. Head over to 3keysinvestments.com and download the Why Invest in Multifamily guide today.